The dust was Arthur Proudfoot's oldest companion. It settled on the windowsills of his Arizona ranch house in fine, red layers, a silent testament to the passage of empty days. At 78, his world had been winnowed down to the essentials: the grumble of the well pump, the stubborn squeak of the porch swing, and the vast, star-dusted silence that descended each night. He was a man balanced on the quiet edge of life, his ledger of joys and sorrows long since closed. The sky was just a dome, a thing to be ignored. Then, on a Tuesday, the sky screamed. It was a sound of shearing metal and tortured physics, a roar that culminated not in a fireball, but in a deep, ground-shaking crunch that rattled the china in his cupboard. Arthur, mid-sip of his afternoon tea, jolted, the lukewarm liquid splashing onto his trousers. For a full minute, he sat, heart thumping a wild, forgotten rhythm against his ribs. Then, habit and a lifetime of self-reliance took over. He grabbed the heavy mag light from by the door and, after a moment's hesitation, the old Winchester leaning in the corner, not because he expected to need it, but because its solid weight was a familiar comfort. He took the pickup, its headlights probing the twilight as he bumped over the rugged track toward the dry wash. A pall of glittering dust hung in the air, catching the last of the sun's rays. And there it was. Not a plane. A jagged, obsidian shard, sleek and organic-looking, was buried nose first in sand. Around it, the ground was littered with smaller, crystalline fragments that glittered like fallen stars. And there, clustered in the shadow of the wreck, were the figures. His first thought was a startled deer, their forms slender and poised for flight. But as the truck lights washed over them, he saw his mistake. They were tall, their skin possessing the faint, opalescent sheen of a pearl. Their eyes were large and luminous, the color of molten gold, and they had no hair, their heads smooth and elegantly tapered. Their garments, though torn, seemed woven from shifting twilight. They shrank from the light, a unified flinch of terror. 11 of them, and as the one closest to him turned, Arthur saw an expression that transcended species. A grief so profound it seemed to swallow the very light around her. It was in the slope of their shoulders, the way their long fingers intertwined for support. They were all female, and the story their posture told was one of recent catastrophic loss. They were widows. The one who had met his gaze stepped forward. She placed a slender hand on her chest. A single word bloomed in Arthur's mind, clear as a bell. Elara. She gestured to the wreckage, then to the cold, emerging stars, and finally brought her hands together in a universal, desperate plea. Our home is gone. Our protectors are gone. Help us. Arthur Proudfoot, a man whose most complicated decision in a decade was whether to repaint the barn, stood frozen. Sanity dictated calling the authorities, but looking into Alara's ancient, sorrowful eyes, he felt an echo in the hollow of his own chest. He'd been a widower for 15 years. He knew the architecture of emptiness. He jerked a thumb toward the truck's flatbed. All right, he grunted, the word rough in the quiet desert air. Can't have you staying out here with the coyotes. Get in. The following weeks were a lesson in quiet revolution. The abandoned bunkhouse became their sanctuary. Arthur brought out musty blankets, spare pillows, and whatever kin goods he thought might be palatable. The women, the widows of Seti, as Alara had shown him, their home a pinprick of light in a constellation he'd never known, were ethereally undemanding. They ate sparingly, mostly consuming water in a thick, silvery gel from preserved canisters. Their communication was a tapestry of telepathy, images, emotions, and concepts flowing directly into his awareness. He pieced together their story. A research vessel, a peaceful mission, attacked by predators of the void. Their husbands had created a diversion, sacrificing themselves so the family module could escape. They were the sole, grieving remnants, and they were not helpless. Arthur's ranch, a monument to slow decay, began to subtly rejuvenate under their care. They didn't use his tools. They seemed to understand the essence of things. The well pump, which had complained for a decade, now drew water with a deep, contented hum. His patchy vegetable garden, a testament to his half-hearted efforts, exploded with vitality. Tomatoes swelled to impossible sizes, and corn stalks stood as tall and proud as soldiers. They learned his rhythms. They sensed a dull ache in his knee when a storm was brewing, and a perfectly brewed cup of tea would materialize at his elbow. They heard the lonely drone of his baseball games on the radio, and one evening, a new sound drifted from the bunkhouse. It was music, but unlike any he knew, a cascade of crystalline notes and resonant hums that seemed to chart the sorrows and joys of 1,000 light years. It was the first music that felt welcome in his home since Martha's piano fell silent. He learned their names and talents. Lyra, with a delicate, silver filigree trace at her temple, could commune with machines. Orion, the youngest, traced complex astronomical charts in the dust. He taught them in return. The absurdity of pancakes fascinated them. The rules of baseball baffled them. The word home, he explained by pointing to his house, then the bunkhouse, then his own heart. Ilara had looked at him, her golden eyes holding his, and projected a feeling of such profound safety and belonging that it brought a lump to his throat. She understood. For 2 months, the ranch was a secret paradise. Arthur's wrinkles seemed to soften. He found himself whistling. The silence was no longer empty, but shared a comfortable presence. The idyll shattered with the arrival of 3 black Suburbans. They moved with an unnerving quietness, flanking the house. Men in dark tactical gear emerged, their faces unreadable. The leader, a man with the demeanor of a granite block, introduced himself as Agent Corbin. Mr. Proudfoot, we have credible intelligence of a non-terrestrial impact on this property. We need to secure the site. Arthur's blood ran cold. He stood his ground on the porch, a frail sentinel. There's nothing to secure, just an old man and a lot of dirt. Corbin's smile was a cold, thin thing. Our thermal scans show multiple life signs in your outbuilding. We're not here to debate. We're here to collect. Collect. The word confirmed Arthur's deepest fear. They weren't saviors. They were janitors, here to sweep a cosmic inconvenience into a classified drawer forever. This is private property, Arthur said, his voice gaining a steel he didn't feel. You need a warrant. We are the warrant, Corbin said, nodding to his team. Helplessness threatened to choke Arthur. He was one old man. He was about to fail them, but he had underestimated his guests. As the agents fanned out, the air itself seemed to thicken. A vibration started low, a resonance that came up through the soles of their boots. The desert light twisted, colors bleeding at the edges. Then, the door of the bunkhouse opened. Ilara stood there, flanked by the other 10. They were not hiding. They were radiant. Their golden eyes blazed like small suns, and an aura of palpable energy shimmered around them. They did not raise a hand in anger. Instead, they opened their minds. The wave of psychic energy was staggering. It was not an attack, but a confession, a sharing. Arthur felt it first, the breathtaking beauty of their crystalline cities under twin suns, the warmth of familial bonds stretching across generations. Then, the terrifying violence of the attack, the searing pain of loss, the void where their mates' consciousnesses had been. And finally, the gentle, healing kindness of the gruff human who had taken them in. It was a symphony of memory, love, and grief, broadcast directly into the souls of the men surrounding them. The effect was instantaneous. One agent dropped to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably for a loss he'd never experienced. Another tore off his helmet, gasping for air as the phantom pain of disintegration seared through him. Agent Corbin staggered, his face a mask of stunned agony, his professional detachment utterly annihilated by the raw, shared heartbreak. As suddenly as it began, it stopped. The desert night rushed back in, cold and silent. The agents were broken and humbled, their mission forgotten in the face of a truth too immense to process. Ilara looked at Corbin, and a single, clear image formed in his mind. The 11 of them, standing with Arthur on the porch, under the peaceful stars. Then, an image of the black vehicles driving away, forever. Corbin, his authority shattered, gave a curt, shaky nod. He signaled his men. They retreated, helping their stricken comrades into the trucks. The vehicles vanished into the night, leaving only tire tracks in a profound silence. Arthur's legs felt weak. Ilara approached and laid a cool, calming hand on his arm. Her touch conveyed reassurance, gratitude, and a fierce, protective resolve. He knew it wasn't over. Men like Corbin would be back, with better shields, different tactics. But they had won tonight. He looked at the 11 alien widows, their forms glowing softly in the starlight. The quiet ranch was no longer just a refuge from his loneliness. It was a fortress guarding a second chance for all of them.